My name is Bob Hall. I'm a senior solutions architect and an engineer for Technology Integration Group. And we're located in Mississauga, and we have offices also in Ottawa and in the United States. I'll tell you a little bit more about the company in a couple of minutes, but we have this cool little video that we created, and I always like to play it because it's kind of fun and it tells you a little bit about just everything everybody's running into. So hopefully the volume works here and we'll be good to go. Come on, baby. Or maybe not. Whatever works when you want it to.
Oh, I turned on your volume.
No,
Sorry.
maybe we won't watch it. Anyway, well, that's running up kind of talk. So, one of the things that we find when we're meeting with customers is that the technology is creeping ahead so fast that it's very hard to keep up. And when you talk to the different vendors about what's going on, and you talk with hardware providers and stuff, everybody has their own solution of how things are going to play out and how it's going to work. What we've learned over the years is that what most organizations need is an integrator, right? Somebody who can help you figure out which pieces work with which components. And that's a lot of what we do with our clients. Instead of looking at it from the perspective of, it's an HP solution that you should be getting, or a Dell one, or maybe you need to get Nutanix or one of those products, we help you look at it from the top down. What is it that you need to do in order to get your business to where you want it to be as things go on? So this video we created, which unfortunately sounds not working, kind of gives you a quick rundown about that. And although there's a bald-headed guy on there, when the people developed this, they weren't actually thinking about me, but it kind of does work. So we'll play the video later at the back there, but we'll kind of get into the presentation. So, like I mentioned, my name is Bob Hall. I run our professional services team. I'm also a senior solutions architect for the company, one of them. We have offices all around. We service Canada and the United States, and all around the world, actually. We have offices in China and places like that, too. So we're a $350 million financially sound business, ISO 9001, 2008 certified technology integrator in the States and in Canada. We are also, we have 20, as I was mentioning, we have 23 branches, including those that are in China. And our core expertise is in IT. We do procurement for the federal government and for the provincial governments. We do a lot of enterprise business for SMBs. We touch just about every part of the layers that you can get into for customer bases. We do WAN optimization, data center migrations, you name it, we do it. We have our hands in just about any type of thing that you can get into. Our team, we have a very strong leadership team across North America. We have over 450 employees and a large global partner network that we can call on whenever we need to. And our value statement is that we're committed to innovation and making sure that our customers are getting the best that they can for their investments. This slide tells you a little bit about our multi-vendor approach, like I was talking about. We look at the bigger picture, right? So if you came to me and said, one of our branch offices is having a problem, things are slow on the service side of things, some companies might start, as Steve was mentioning, they might start immediately, looking at the virtualization layer to see what's misbehaving on the file servers. We look at it more holistically, how's your network connection, what type of services are you bringing across the network, do you have any kind of LAN optimization in place? And we evaluate all of the different components that could help us understand, what you're running into. And this is a little bit of a slide that tells you the areas that we play in order to be able to do all of that for you. This is a pretty blank slide. Every company has one of these guys, but it kind of shows you, a lot of the people or companies that we work with. We're one of Canada's largest VMware partners. We do a lot of sales into the federal government, have a huge footprint in there for both product sales and also for professional services. We're a large Nutanix partner. We work with HP, we work with Dell, we do a lot of WAN optimization with Riverbed. So we cover a lot of areas, and all of the engineers that work on our team aren't just certified in those types of technologies, but they have hands-on in them, right? And most of them had a life before working for the reseller, which is something that's important to us and important to you, because having real life experience with using these products, just like you're doing it now, changes the paradigm in how we look at things when we're helping you figure out what you're doing for the next generation of your data center or any types of issues that you happen to run into. We use a methodology for everything that we do. It's discover, design, develop, deploy, operate, and optimize. So lots of companies say that they do that. We actually do the full spectrum of it. One of the biggest things that I point out to every single person I talk to is that it's before jumping into any project, you need to do assessments. You need to understand exactly where you're at today before you can start to figure out how to fix a problem or where you're going to be tomorrow when you start to do your next generation of your data center. And like we talked about a couple of minutes ago, things evolve so quickly in technology that you have to do that, right? You just, in order to be able to figure out how to put the pieces together, you have to have a firm understanding of where you're at, because there are a lot of unknown variables that we don't realize are in there. We'll talk about that in a few minutes. Even my pointer isn't working today. So this slide is an interesting slide, and we like to talk about this because it points out something very important. So how many people here are familiar with Moore's Law? Moore's Law was developed or came upon many years ago, but the reality on it is that every 18 months technology actually doubles or triples in size, or in its capabilities, right? So we're moving so fast with developing new technology that, like I said, it's almost impossible to keep up to. When you think about the fact that, last year alone there were enough cell phones and tablets that have been sold that every single person on the planet could technically have access to the internet and to the technology that's out there. It's a pretty, it's a pretty overwhelming thought. When my kids were younger, they were 9 or 10 years old. Being a tech guy like you guys are, with cell phones and laptops, and they thought they were pretty cool. You watch the news now, and you see that 4 and 5-year-old kids are playing on tablets that are internet enabled. And all of that is being stored somewhere, and all of that technology has been developed in the last 10 years or less, right? Most of it in the last 7 years. And that Moore's Law is a good example of how quickly all that happens. What that does is, as the technology is developing so quickly, it gets more complex, right? And I'm not a pilot, which is probably a good thing, because I wouldn't have a clue what half of this stuff does. But when we started thinking about all the tools that are out there, and Steve pointed it out during his presentation, that there are a lot of tools to look at the different things, right? We've got tools that are built into VMware to look at what's happening in our environment. We have third-party tools like Veeam that we leverage in order to be able to understand the holistic piece to our virtual environment. Then we have the physical side of things. We have Riverbed, who has their tools to help us understand the network and application behaviors. When you start to get all into that, it's very difficult to be able to actually figure out how you're going to be able to troubleshoot problems, let alone what the problem is and how you're going to get to it. And all of that causes a problem. And this slide, whenever I show it, it always bothers me, because it really does make me look like a turtle, because that's representing our IT, right? Today we're having a hard time keeping up with it, but the people who need to have our services, they're not, right? Because what they're doing is they're finding ways to do shadow IT. They're going out and buying Amazon space. They're going out and buying tablets and laptops and bringing them into your organization. And when you start looking at how quickly that can remove your control from an IT perspective, from a security perspective, it's dangerous to every organization. So we have to look at ways to try and move it so that we're able to get our IT organization moving faster. Because we need compliance and control, right? And like I said, the business needs the agility. So you can't solve exponential problems with linear solutions. We have to think outside of the box. And that's hard, right? I sat where you guys are for many years. I worked for Cognos, and I sat in the IT department, and we would come up with great ideas on how we were going to be able to improve our infrastructure and components. But we'd have some management person who would say, no, we're not doing that. I don't understand it, so I'm not interested in pursuing it. And it's very difficult to get past that. Things are changing, right? C-level people are starting to understand that, the cost of those delays and that type of thought process is what's making it that they're spending way too much more money, right, than they should be on shadow IT. So we need to get around it. And when you think about, traditional virtualization as it is, today, or as it was last year in most places, when you would have an environment, we did a survey with a bunch of our customers and kind of came up with this, and I won't bore you with all the details, but what's interesting is if you think about this picture that's here, and don't look at the right-hand side, just the left-hand side. Most of the time we spin up a VMware environment where we have storage and we have our switches, our servers, all of that stuff in place, and maybe that's to run our production environment. And we get it running and we're quite happy with everything. We have all the different layers. And then all of a sudden somebody comes up to us and they say, well, we have a project that we want to do. We want to be able to spin up a bunch of VMs and test this new product that we're going to be building. So now you don't want to mix that with your production environment, so you go and invest, right? You buy another SAN, you buy more switches, you need to keep it off the network, so you need to have a whole bunch of different components that are in there. You have to spin up another vCenter. You need new monitoring solutions. You have another resource pool, and we're not sharing things very well, right? So we have, really expensive production environment that might not be completely utilized, right? Because we planned ahead thinking it's going to grow. Now we've got some sort of dev and test environment for one of our groups, and now all of a sudden what happens? Somebody else comes up and says the same thing in a different group. We need more hardware and more space, so we build it all over again. When you think about how long it takes to do that, it's crazy. If we were to take, just as an example, and we did this to test it with customers, if there was no other projects going on for the resources that were involved, you needed to have storage guys, you need to have networking guys, you need to have your VMware guys, and you need to have your software people who are going to do the installations of the monitoring and backup solutions all ready to go. And we have all the hardware in-house, so we have no delays, everything's already been bought. Just to get from putting the storage and the hardware into the racks to the point where you have an environment that's usable, you're looking at about 20 days of effort across the people that are required to do it. Maybe not 20 consecutive days. It could actually be 20 days that are spread out over the course of a month or two, just to get there. And that's because it's complex, right? And we redo it every time. Sorry about that. So what we did was we got together with VMware and a few other partners of ours, and we said there must be a way that this can be improved upon. And the reason that we met with VMware is, as I mentioned earlier, we're one of their largest partners, and they work very heavily with us on a lot of projects that they do where it's going to be integrating other partners' information. And so we came up with the concept of what we call the Software Accelerated Data Center, which is very close to SADC for, or Software Defined Data Center as you would think about it when you're talking about VMware, but it has a bit of a flavor to it that makes it more realistic than what most of the marketing would be. If you look at the slide that we have behind us, it talks a little bit about all of the different components that are going to be in there, and we're going to kind of go through those, and I'm going to explain it to you. But the piece that's most important that you have to think about is that we're no longer bound on the hardware layer, right? Everything that we do is on the software layer. We have virtualized networks. We have VMware for our hypervisor. We've got all of our security is now capable of being virtualized. We can do everything on the software layer. We don't really have to care about the physical layer anymore, and that really makes a difference in what we're doing. Because before, when you tried to get into any kind of software-defined data center scenario, you kind of had to be all vendor agnostic. You had to be the same vendor for everything that you're doing. You couldn't add in new stuff. So this slide talks a little bit about what you can do in order to be able to get better control, more agility in how it adapts, and accelerating the time to the value of what you're doing. So, when you look at the layer at the bottom of this slide, it talks a little bit about the different technologies that we have there. So Dell EMC's up there, we're a partner with Dell, Nimble, we're a partner with Nimble, and Nutanix. You typically wouldn't see that in a diagram that shows how your infrastructure is laid out. As a matter of fact, most of the time you would only see Dell up there, or you might only see Nutanix up there. when we start talking about software-defined data center, because of the fact that we don't really care about what's on the physical layer anymore, we can mix that all together. So in this particular case, and we built a large test center in our data center at TIG with these partners, we were able to take and blend all of that technology together so that we could produce a software-accelerated data center that you didn't care where your workloads are sitting, you just got the performance that you were after. So when you start to think about it, we have the traditional approach where we've got traditional servers that are part of the stack. We've got storage. In this case, it's Nimble. It could be Dell. It could be HP. It could be anything. Could be Nutanix, right? So it could be Dell Nutanix. It could be Lenovo Nutanix. It could be Nutanix. It doesn't really matter. So you have hyperconverged. We could have vSAN running on this thing. All of that means that we can take the vRealize automation and VMware and layer it on top of this, and we don't have to worry about what it is that we're actually running it on.
Is this something you deploy on premises for a customer, or is it all within your environment, or is it both?
So yeah, that's a great question. This is actually what we see the future state of most of our customers is moving to, right? So this is what you guys are going to see in your data center somewhere in the future. It's probably closer than you expect, right? So we can do it in our data center. We actually do have this deployed in our data center so that you guys can log in, test it, play with it, see how it works. We actually run it in our production environment as well. But the concept here is to help you guys, and when we talk to our clients, it's to help them understand the future state of where they're going to end up. And what's not showing on here at this moment is extension out into the cloud, because we're going to talk about that as well, because every organization is thinking about going to the cloud, right? There's definite advantages to it, and there's disadvantages as well. Does anybody have NSX running in their environment currently? Yeah? And what do you think about it?
It's fantastic.
It is awesome, but one of the things, and I learned it the hard way, just like most of the people who use Nutanix are, is that it's an all or nothing type scenario. As much as we like to talk about the fact that it would be easy to start out small, with NSX, not Nutanix, with NSX and have it in maybe just a small lab area, and then kind of think about moving into production. Once we hit our production switches, you kind of have to be prepared to have NSX running in your entire environment, because you can't really wind back from it. So if you have a development area where it's completely segregated, you're good to go. You can go and play with it, destroy it all you want to. As soon as you take that and put it into your production environment, it does a great job. It's amazing. I could talk about it all day with you, but you're not going to roll back out of it for two reasons. One, it's really difficult, and two, the features that you get in it, you don't want to give up once you're using it. So when we built the stack, one of the things that was important was being able to isolate workloads, right? You want to be able to take your hardware layer and make it one big pool of resources so that you can put anything anywhere, but you need to also make sure that it's segregated. So if we have a scenario where we have people who have their production environment, and then they have a dev environment, and then they have some sort of testing environment, and it's all running on the same hardware, we need to make sure that when we have overlapping IPs, when we have a VM that spins out of control, we have a way to isolate that and make sure that it's protected, and that's what NSX does for us. It allows that ability for us to be able to segregate everything out and make sure that we have the security in place that we need to protect us if something goes wrong. I'm not going to get into NSX much more than that right now, but I'm going to tell you that it's definitely something that you're going to want to look at. And the best part about that is NSX doesn't care what the switching is. So before, if we were going to upgrade our switches, we'd have to go with all Cisco or Cisco shop, or all Dell if we were a Dell shop. When you start to move your networking up to NSX, you can mix those switch types together. It doesn't really matter, because we're doing everything inside of ESX or inside of the GUI for NSX in order to do our network. So once we have that in place, we don't really have to touch the switches anymore at all. After you put in network, virtualization, the next thing you need to do is understand what's happening in your environment, right? And that's a piece that's often overlooked and it's never invested in until there's a problem. So I like to point it out to make sure that you're aware there's tools that are out there. And as you look through these slides, you'll see that there's lots of different tools. There's some stuff that's from VMware, there's stuff that's from Riverbed, there's stuff from Palo Alto, Veeam, right? The piece about the modern data center is it's not going to be just VMware. Right? No matter how much VMware would love us to do everything with them, it's realistic that we're going to be using tools that are specialized in the type of information that we need to get. Riverbed provides, WAN optimization. So as we're going between multiple data centers, we need to be thinking about, how our traffic flow is happening and how much data we're moving across there. But it also provides very good monitoring capabilities, not just on the network, but also at the application layer. And I'll tell you a little bit of an example about that. We had an energy company that we were working with a year and a half ago, and they used a whole bunch of different products to get their reporting. And they had a report that, before they did some network upgrades, was taking about 25 minutes to run, and after the upgrades were done, the report took just over 11 hours to finish, and it wasn't even a large report. And so the person who wrote the report went to to her manager and said, "Hey, something's wrong here. I've not changed my report, but I don't understand why it's not running anymore." The manager went to the networking guys and said, or the application server guys and said, "There's something wrong with your server. It's not working." You guys have heard this story before, I'm sure. The server guys blamed the database guys blamed the networking, everybody went in big circles. For 4 months, they were fighting internally about what the problem was, and it never got resolved because nobody really wanted to look at it. They just wanted to pass the buck. We were in there talking about something altogether different, and one of the AEs that we have mentioned that I used to work for Cognos, and it turned out that the reporting tool that they were using was a Cognos reporting tool, so immediately the conversation changed over, "Hey, Bob, maybe you can help us with this." And when he mentioned I used to work for Cognos, he forgot to mention there was like a 5-year gap in there, so I had no clue about the new tools that they were using. But I realized right away that the problem wasn't really the application, right? There's something else that was driving it. So we used Riverbed, and we put it in, and I installed it in the morning the next day just to get a better understanding of what's happening with the network. And how their applications work is it sees, because it's Riverbed and the way this WAN optimization, it sees every packet that's happening on the network, right? They also have another piece that we installed that puts an agent on their application servers and their database servers. So now they can take the data that they're getting from the network and they can tie it into what's happening on the different servers. So we have a very holistic view of what's happening in order to figure out what's going on. Long story short, by the end of that day, I knew that it was actually a SQL statement that had an error in it out of the report that the girl had been using. And we could track backwards through the data that we collected to find the day that she made the change on the report. And it was kind of funny that I got to point it out to her because she used to actually report to me when I was at Cognos. So that's my funny story about how the world is small and things. So monitoring is important, and the way that we do, or the way that we look at next generation data centers is tenant based. So you need to have applications at the lowest level that are able to handle tenant based monitoring and management. So Riverbed is a good choice for that because of the design of the product. We can set up environments, and you can say tenant A has access to only the information that's relevant to them. And you guys, as the administrators and management of the network and the different devices, can see holistically everything that's going on. Of course, we all know, and we skipped over it, but VMware vCenter is and how well it is. That's why we're here today. And also the fact that we want to use vRealize automation as how we're going to manage our data center moving forward. The fact that most people look at vRealize automation as a tool to be able to spin up VMs and have catalogs to be able to have it so that people go in and just select what they're doing is great. But it does a whole lot more than that. If you spend the time and you design the user interfaces properly, you can set it up so that you have very nice tenant-based portals that groups can log into. and they can self-provision the VMs themselves, right? And this is where it gets really interesting, because what used to be resource pools that were on separate hardware altogether are now resource pools that are using this hardware layer at the bottom. They're all sharing it. NSX is there to help protect it, right? Make sure that when I spin up a bunch of stuff in resource pool 1, which is maybe my development lab for creating reports, and you guys are spinning up something in resource pool 2, which is where you're testing some part of an application. If we have the same IP addresses, there's no conflict. If my VM goes out of control, instead of dragging down everything that's happening at the hardware level and taking advantage of all the resources associated to the server that I'm sitting on, NSX can flag that right out of the gate and say this is a VM that's out of control, and move it to a management layer where you can do whatever you want to with it to repair it, but it's not impacting the rest of the environment. So there's some pretty cool stuff that you can do there, and that's what really makes a difference in how things are going to be running in the future versus how they are today. Because you can't do that today. If we look at the standard or typical environment that you guys have or customers have, if you had a VM that's spun out of control, it can quickly bring your whole environment down. Right? There's not really anything in there that can help you out with that until you find it and shut it off. When you start, I'm backwards. So, like I was saying, aside from orchestration, what vRealize automation allows us to do is also connect our workloads across multiple data centers, right? So this hardware, when you think about it, could be in a data center in Toronto, and it could be a data center in Pickering, and it could be a data center in Vancouver. It doesn't really matter as long as we have a good connection between the two. We can spin up VMs and they can sit anywhere they want to. And even when we move them because of a requirement, maybe there's a load problem in our Vancouver data center, NSX will allow us to take that VM, move it from one data center into another one, create all of the secure tunneling required to make sure the routing works properly. You don't even have to change the IP addresses anymore. You just move that guy around. So when you get into large environments where there's hundreds or thousands of VMs, suddenly that having to pay attention to where every single VM is sitting goes away, right? Because it can move around as it needs to from an automated perspective. Where that gets exciting is what you can do with it when you start thinking about the cloud, right? Because we want to be able to extend out into the cloud and take advantage of, in some cases, lower cost places to store our VMs and run them. We want to be able to move them out there or move them back without having to do changes to them. And there are cloud providers in Canada now, and also in the US, where you can extend your network, especially NSX-based networks, out to their data centers. And as a result, now we can take a VM that was sitting in Vancouver at one of our data centers. Instead of having to bring it here to Toronto and run it, we can just push it out to that provider. No changes have to be made in the IP addresses. All the routing's in place to make sure that it gets to it, and away we go. Why would we want to do that? Well, maybe that VM's not doing a whole lot. It only gets hit 4 or 5 times a day. The contractual agreement we have with our provider is fairly inexpensive in comparison to the high-end storage that we're using. Maybe we've got a bunch of SAS drives that we're using or whatever, and we need to find ways in order to make it. We have more performing VMs internal and less used ones external, right? So development wants stuff like that. So that's really important, and they put a lot of work in the last year into the product to be able to extend out to the cloud. They have some connectors for specific providers like Amazon and Azure and all that kind of stuff, but you can connect to just about any cloud provider because of the open API capabilities. The advantage of all of this, like this slide says, is it takes provisioning and it changes it. When we talked about that first slide where we said it could take 20 or 30 days to get an environment up and running, we can build an entire virtual environment in a few minutes. And at first I was skeptical when I started this project that would be the case. And then I realized that it's reality. With our data center that we have built for demoing this stuff, we can build an entire environment with 35 or 40 VMs in it that are pre-configured based on a catalog that would mimic what a call center looks like for piece of it in a few minutes. So when you think about that, when you have a call center that has got a lot of transient people, or they have different programs that they're running through, for a week they're running a particular program and people are in, they're logging in, they're doing calls and stuff. That program ends, you take the data from that, extract it, save it somewhere, and then you roll out a brand new group of VMs for the guys that start on Monday. It's pretty neat because you wouldn't be able to do that before. We actually worked with CSIS in order to be able to help them put that together in their environment for their training for their hackers, right? So they need to have environments that change every other day in order to get the new algorithms and stuff that came up and be able to put the applications in there so that they could have people working all the time, trying to figure out how hackers are doing what they do best, and that's how they were able to achieve this by using realized automation. The next piece that we like to point out is that although VMware has great monitoring tools, and I absolutely love vRealize Operations Manager, I was probably one of the first 12 people in Canada who were trained on it when it came out. Not probably, I was. It is a very big component for a lot of great information, including when you're thinking about, where am I going to be in a year or 2 years, when you start to model out, how much storage you have available and how much different components, CPU and stuff that you're going to need. The problem is it's also kind of expensive, right? If you don't have enterprise licensing and you're just trying to pick out a monitoring tool, it can be costly. So we looked around and said, what other tools are out there that can complement vRealize Operations? And Veeam is one of them. And we use Veeam for a lot of the assessments that we do because it's easy to install, it's lightweight. But the biggest piece that Veeam, or value that Veeam brings to the table, just like vRealize Ops does, is it can be tenant-based, right? So you can set it up, and that's why it's on top of the stack right here. You can set it up so that when you have a tenant, so in this, what we've been talking about, if we had a development group who had a bunch of resources assigned to them inside of our environment, when they log into their Veeam portal, they can see all the stuff that's happening in their piece of that environment, but they don't see what's happening in the rest of the environment we have, because they don't need to see that. They don't need to know what's going on there. But yet you guys, as the administrators, have the ability to be able to see the whole thing, so you get a bigger picture of what's going on and get the reporting on it.
That's a good thing, because we've told them that's a separate environment.
Yeah, that's exactly true, right? Really, when you think about it, the end user doesn't need to know that everything is shared. All they need to know is, this is my space, I have this much RAM, and away we go, right? I have this much CPU capabilities, I have this much storage. If I run out of it, I put in a request to get more. In the past, it would meant, go buy another array for disk or go buy another server. Now it means you push a button and they've got more space provision too. We can even automate that. With vRealize Automation, you can set that whole process up where when they put in the request to be able to get more resources, it sends out an email to the manager who then has the ability to approve it. Right? We can get as granular with that product right down to licensing. Right? If there's not enough Windows 2012 licenses available, you can have the process in vRealize Automation that actually gets right down to the procurement level after all the approvals are in place and automates that piece. Once the licenses are purchased, it releases everything in less than half a year. So it's really, you can use as much or as little of this as you like. Same thing with backup, right? We needed to have a model where our users or our groups are able to do their own backups, but not duplicate what's already in place. And a lot of people don't realize what happens is, you have a group like a development group who's going to back up what they're working on, and you at the lower level are busy backing everything up anyways, because the last thing you need is some user to call you up and say, I deleted my VM and I need to fix it, and you don't have a copy of it, right? Well, they want the control to be able to do it, and you want to be able to make sure that it is backed up. So what Veeam does is the way, if you configure it as a tenant-based model, when you have your backups happening on the lowest level, right, so we're backing up all the VMs, and a user goes in and says, hey, I want to do a backup at 10 o'clock. Well, that particular VM is already scheduled to happen at 9:30 or 9 o'clock. it will leverage that existing backup so that it doesn't duplicate the process, right? So that is a very powerful component because they can then recover their own VMs off of the existing backup, or you can do it for them, right? It's as much or as little as you want to give to them, but it's a very important piece. We work with lots of different security vendors, Trend and Palo Alto. We like Palo Alto because of the fact that they have spent so much time and invested with VMware to understand VMware's methodology and how the software accelerator, their vRealize automation works, so that they have the hooks to be able to go in and properly link up with NSX and software to get a very secure, semi-simple solution in place. I say semi-simple because nothing's plug and play. No matter how much anybody wants to tell you that it is, there's always configuration pieces. We've built the data center that we have in Toronto 11 times in the last 2 years because I tear it down and put new versions in and change things around quite frequently. So at first I would back it up that way. If I screwed it up, I could just redeploy. But then I got to the point where it made sense to start from scratch every time. And to put all of this in place the first time takes days when you have nothing better to do except for the good. And I'm a workaholic, so I typically work on it 12 or 14 hours a day until it's done. And I've got it narrowed down that I can do the whole thing in 4 days if I have to. But where the value is that when somebody says to me, we have a customer that we want to be able to demo, two different servers and some sort of environment, we can spin that up in a couple minutes. That is really powerful. And we can use the security that's built into this guy as well as NSX to make sure that their little environment doesn't touch my production environment, which is sitting on there as well. So it's very, very important. We have links to a couple of cloud providers that are partners of ours. We spent a lot of time researching cloud providers that are in Canada to make sure that we were offering solutions to our clients that made sense for them. So many people are interested in where their data is sitting, right? Especially when you're dealing with provincial and federal governments, it has to be in Canada. So we research which data centers which cloud providers truly do offer that. And if you guys are thinking about the cloud, here's a hint. They'll tell you that your data is all in Canada and that you don't ever have to worry about it going into the States or to Mexico or China or somewhere like that. The question to ask them is, where do you store your backups, right? Most people don't think about that, but all of these cloud providers back their stuff up. So they have copies of that somewhere. And they don't think about, they think about it, but they don't tell you that it could be sitting in a data center that's not in Canada. So now, even though it's dedupe and compress somewhere, there is data of yours that's sitting outside of the country. And if that's important to you, you have to pay attention to it. We had a hockey team that we did a lot of work with over the years, and they decided to move a lot of their infrastructure to the cloud. And when we met with them, we sat and talked to them about, do you care about where your data is? And they said, yes, absolutely. It's in Canada. We've talked with Microsoft. They guaranteed us it's going to be in Canada. At that time, there was no way that Microsoft could guarantee that their data was going to be sitting in Canada. They moved out to the cloud and thought everything was great, and then they got audited, and then they had to bring it all back. And it cost them far more money than it would have to bring it back. So it's really important to pay attention to that. And that's one of the single most overlooked components when thinking about the cloud. That and the fact that there's a honeymoon period. So has anybody moved to the cloud? So you may have experienced this. A lot of times cloud providers will promise you that in the first 90 or 120 days it's going to cost you this much money a month, right? After that time period written into the agreement, suddenly they start measuring your IOPS and how much you've changed and what your deltas are, and your bill starts to climb. And usually in that 90 to 120 days, you're addicted to the service, and pulling out of it is very, very difficult. What we do is we make sure that we pay attention to those things that are written into your contracts when you're working with us, so that you don't get caught on that. And it happens to everybody. We have a customer who was unable to expand their their environment fast enough to suit the needs of their internal users. So people started going to the cloud on their own, right? So it didn't seem like a whole lot when somebody's got a credit card and they go spend, $1,000 a month on being able to put VMs out there. It's not a big deal. But when you have 10 different departments with 8 different credit cards each that are putting them out there, this organization suddenly found out that they were spending, a couple $100,000 a month on IT services in the cloud that they didn't budget for, that they didn't know existed. And to get all of that brought back in-house because it expanded so quickly is virtually impossible. But the cost in order to buy the hardware for that, for you to try and control it, is crazy, and it's too late to negotiate contracts. So it's important to pay attention to that. So what we've talked about today is the fact that most organizations are going to have a hybrid type of data center. It's going to have hardware that's located inside of the data centers you have today, and you're going to have some sort of extension out to the cloud. The trick is to make sure that you get the right pieces out in the cloud that are going to be the most cost effective, and that you pay close attention to that as you go through, right? Usually what happens on an IT side is once the contracts are signed, you never see the bills anymore, and they just slowly about approvals happen and nobody really pays attention, and then when it's refresh time, you get a lot of feedback. Because when you're trying to get money for your hardware, it's getting spent on the cloud. We're able to use something like the software accelerated data center and the concept behind this to be able to deploy workloads for our end users in minutes instead of hours, and that's one of the big pieces that the cloud brings to the table, right? You can go out and spin up VMs instantly. Well, we can do that if we use vRealize operations, vRealize automation, right? It lowers our operating expenses because of the fact that we don't have to put as much time into building an environment every single time. We reduce the data center density. Think about it. We don't have to have the traditional storage and server scenario. We can go into hyperconverged. We can use something like vRail or vRack or Nutanix, reduce our data center costs by reducing the amount of energy we're consuming, the space that we need, and also we can reduce the manpower that's required to maintain all this. Because if we're fully hyperconverged and we're fully vRealize automation going into our environment with NSX, the dependency on hardcore network guys, hopefully none are in the room, and storage guys becomes less because we can manage it all through the products. Better degree of security and compliance, that's important to us, right? We can do all of that virtually now, and we can deliver better or greater business outcomes. So we can do it faster and do a better job of that. So this slide just kind of summarizes everything that I had mentioned before. We take and change everything, right? Before we had split environments like we do now, this all rolls up into hyperconverged. Right? These could be 2 separate data centers with a whole bunch of resource power in there. We don't care what the brand is. We don't care anything about it. All we care about is the fact that we're managing a virtual environment that's spread across data centers and clouds. We use NSX in order to be able to get our security in place and protect our environment. And then we have products like Veeam or vRealize or whatever in order to be able to do it. So our organization, like I talked about earlier, is focused primarily on enterprise solutions with our customers. We have a demo center that allows you to look at all of the technologies that we work with, and some key points that are really important, and I started this out. When you're going through any step of building your next generation data center, anything that you're going to do, even if you're going to think about moving into the cloud, assessments are critical, especially ones that are going to get you the information that you need. So you need to pick an organization who's done it before and knows what they're talking about. You need to make sure that you really understand what's in your data center today, what the workloads are, what your IOPS are, all of those components before you start that journey, because it will surprise you when it's too late, and you don't want that to happen. And also what you can run out in the cloud and what you can't. In our own organization, we have financial servers that we use on a regular basis that will not work well in the cloud because there's latency, right? So you have to really understand that, and that's what an assessment does in our organization. There's many of those. We do networking, security, we do cloud readiness assessments, we do virtual desktop assessments, all of those pieces for that very reason, to make sure that you're enabled with the tools and the information that you need before you move on. And that's about it. So I wanted to make sure that you guys had a chance to learn all about that today, and to thank you for allowing us to present and participate in VMUG here in Toronto. And if you have any questions or anything at all, please, I'll be here for the rest of the morning. Reach out to me and grab a card and give me a call. We can do coffee, whatever. It'd be great. Thank you.